Hi, I'm Jeff, and welcome to another one of my videos where I take a look at all the new comic books coming out on either August 8th or 9th, 2023. And I ask myself the question, what one new comic book would I buy this week if I could buy just one book? Let's start off this video first by taking a look back at my pick from 2 weeks ago, which was The Ribbon Queen, issue number 1. And the question remains, was it a worthy and worthwhile book to be my just one book pick of the week? And the answer is yes. Yeah, sure, I enjoyed it. I have to admit, when I was reading the majority of the issue, I was kind of like, okay, these are people standing in rooms and talking. That's not necessarily a bad thing. The Nice House on the Lake was a lot of people standing in rooms and talking, and I enjoyed that immensely. But this was a little bit more, I was like, well, okay, I guess this is what it's going to be. They're going to try to solve a murder, but they're going to just kind of stand around and talk about it. But then, at the very end, wisely in a lot of ways, because it had a lot of impact there, they added a supernatural element. And I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty cool. I can see where this could be interesting and this could be worth checking out moving forward. That being said, I will fully admit I do not plan on purchasing any more copies of The Ribbon Queen. I am very curious about it and I enjoyed it, and under normal circumstances I probably would stick with it and see it all the way through to the end. My problem is that I'm going to try to buy a lot fewer comic books, new ones, each week. The just one book purpose is going to be much more important to me, because like I said, I'm going to try to buy a lot less, and I'm not even so much because I'm not enjoying stuff. Definitely I'm enjoying tons of stuff, and it's not even like that it's overly expensive, although it does add up. It's space. I'm running out of space, so I need to slow down because I can't just keep adding to my collection. But so I'm not going to read The Ribbon Queen moving forward, but it was enjoyable. I did like it. It was a worthy and worthwhile just one book pick. If you read The Ribbon Queen, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. All right, let's go ahead now and move forward and take a look at the books that are coming out this upcoming week. The first one I want to tell you about is a new book. It is called The ENFIELD Gang Massacre, issue number 1 from Image Comics. Here's a short part of the description. The That Texas Blood duo returns to Ambrose County, Texas, with an all-new miniseries set 150 years in the past. Now, this is issue 1 of a 6-issue limited series, so like they mentioned here, it is a miniseries. It's from the writing and art team from That Texas Blood. So if you liked That Texas Blood, you might consider checking this out. If you just like Westerns, you might consider checking this out. So there's a few reasons to consider it this week. The next book I want to tell you about is Swan Songs, issue number 2 from Image Comics. I mentioned this month, and I'll probably actually end up mentioning it every single month it comes out for 2 reasons. One, W. Maxwell Prince, the writer of this, is very good. For those, I'm sure you all know this already, but he's the writer of Ha Ha and Ice Cream Man and other things that are quite enjoyable. So from a writing perspective, worth checking out. And every issue is going to have a different artist. So it's possible that your favorite artist might work on one of these issues, so it might be good for you to know what artist is going to be on which issue, because the writing department's handled. Now the question is, are you interested in the art? The artist on this issue, issue number 2, will be Casper Wingard. So if you're a fan of Casper's, you might consider picking this up this week. And obviously, if you're a friend of W. Maxwell Prince, you're already on top of picking it up. The next book I want to mention to you is House of Slaughter, issue number 16 from Boom Studios. All right, the reason for this being on my list is obvious. As you all know, I'm a gigantic Something is Killing the Children fan, and this is more from that world. I've said it before, it's not as good as Something is Killing the Children, but it's giving me more of what I love, which is fleshing out the world of Something is Killing the Children. So I'm absolutely sticking with it. I'm enjoying it too. I actually think it's even gotten better since it first came out. And we're back with writer Sam Johns taking over the job as writer. So they do a good job, so I'm interested to see more of that from them. This is the first book that I've mentioned so far this week that I will be purchasing. The next book I want to mention to you is a new book. It is called MECH CADETS, issue number 1 from Boom Studios. Here's just the first sentence of the description, or part of the first sentence. Fans of the highly anticipated Netflix series won't want to miss this perfect companion series That's basically all you need to know right there. MECH Cadet was a book that came out in like 2014 or 2015, so this is not the first appearance of this title. There may be first appearances of characters in this new MECH Cadets issue number 1, and it does appear to be a tie-in to the Netflix animated series that I believe is premiering this upcoming week, I believe on the 10th. So there's some spec potential there, and it's something worth knowing about. I'm not so bullish on it, so I'm not going to run out and buy it. But this is probably a pretty good candidate if you want to pick up first appearances that are almost immediately going to be seen on Netflix. So something to keep in mind. And it looks like it could be a cool story as well. The next book I want to mention to you is Ghost Rider Wolverine, Weapons of Vengeance, issue number 1 of a 4-issue limited series from Marvel Comics. I mentioned this book for 2 reasons. Wolverine and Ghost Rider. They are a fantastic combination together. I mean, it doesn't get much cooler than Ghost Rider and Wolverine together in the same comic book. So if you just want some cool, kick-ass, superhero Marvel Comics this week, boy howdy, Ghost Rider Wolverine, Weapons of Vengeance might just be for you. And if that didn't quite hit the mark for you, this next book might do the trick, which is Spider-Man Annual, issue number 1 from Marvel Comics. This is also another mashup of Wolverine, but this time, of course, with Spider-Man. It's basically about Spider-Man goes through a portal to a remote magical city and is attacked by Wolverine. I would like to see Wolverine and Spider-Man fight. They're so different that I think that they could make for a very interesting battle. Granted, I have a very strong opinion about who would win that battle. If they took it all the way to its normal conclusion, which would be someone knocked out or dead, who would win this fight? To me, it's obviously Wolverine would beat Spider-Man every day of the week. If you think I'm crazy, and there's an argument to be made either way, let me know your thoughts about who would win in a battle between Wolverine and Spider-Man down in the comments. This could be a fun comment section this week. The next book I want to tell you about is Star Wars issue number 37. The reason I mentioned Star Wars this week is the same reason I mention Star Wars every single month it comes out. I really like it. I've been reading it since first issue. I didn't expect that I would still be reading it at issue number 37. Blows my mind. But it is really good. It is really entertaining. It is the second book that I've mentioned so far this week that I will be buying. The next book I want to tell you about is a new comic book. It is called Comic Books Kill, issue number 1 from Scout Comics. The description's very short. I will read it to you. New York City, 1939. Comics creator Jack Levi places his life and career on the line when he begins an affair with the femme fatale lover of his mafia boss publisher. Comic Books Kill is a crime noir tale of myths, mistresses, and mobsters, sure to thrill fans of Kirby, Brubaker, and Phillips. Okay, if anything in that description interested you, specifically the crime noir part of it, I would flag as being of particular importance, then this might be a book you'd consider picking up this week. The next book I want to tell you about is another new book. It is called Dwellings, issue number 1 of a 3-issue limited series from Oni Press Incorporated. Here's just the beginning of the description. Shock, terror, fun, Saturday morning meets the stroke of midnight in an all-new bi-monthly limited series presented in prestige format, 72-page chapters with 2 complete tales in each issue. Okay, so this is by writer and artist Jay Stevens. It is a prestige, oversized situation, so it is a $10 book. It is bi-monthly, it says, which I believe sometimes that means twice a month, sometimes that means every other month. I believe in this instance they mean every other month. There's only going to be 3 issues of them, but there are 2 complete stories in each one. This sounds kind of interesting. What's most interesting to me is that it sounds like a lot of fun. I like the idea of, like, they're going to tell stories that kind of mix Saturday morning cartoons with, like, horror. This could be really fun. This could be really entertaining. I'm really into fun and entertainment from my comic books, so that's why it's on the list this week and I pointed it out to you. All right, those are all of my honorable mentions. And that brings us to the one book that I would buy this week if I could buy just one book. And that book is The Madness, issue number 1 of a 6-issue limited series from AWA. Here's the description. Legendary writer J. Michael Straczynski teams with superstar artist Echo for a tale of bloody vengeance. In The Madness, Sarah Ross has been using her power as a thief, stealing from the rich and, well, keeping it. Until the day she stole from the wrong person, a highly placed official who pressures the government to assassinate her. The plot, aided by so-called good superheroes sponsored by the government, misses her, but wipes out her family. Driven mad by grief and laser-focused on revenge for the murder of her family, Sarah, and a hidden side of her personality, an imaginary friend who may be more real than she believes, goes after these superpowered operatives, determined to take her revenge at any cost. There's a lot going on there to unpack, but let's get to it in a second. One thing I'll say is that when I started off research for this video, I basically knew I was pulling Star Wars because I do that, and I was pulling House of Slaughter because I do that. I had no idea what my pick was going to be this week. And I was going through my research thinking, well, this looks interesting, but I don't know that it's a pick. This looks interesting, but I don't know that it's a pick. This looks interesting, but I'm not going to buy it, so I'm not going to make it my pick. This one, though, grabbed me, and like I say, it got its claws into me, and it held on tight. And I was like, oh man, I wasn't planning on buying this book this week, but I'm absolutely going to pick this one up because it sounds really, really interesting. Now, it could be a situation where you pile more things on top of more things on top of more things and it dilutes the whole thing, or it just continues to, which would be bad, or it just makes the stakes higher and higher and higher. And that's a very, very good thing in storytelling. So you have this thief who robs the wrong person. Someone wants to kill him for it. They avoid that, but their family all dies instead. And so now they're going to go on revenge against the people who killed their family and probably the person who also ordered those deaths. And in the meantime, they have an imaginary friend that's not so imaginary. So they may have some kind of level of superpowers on their own. I like that there's a superhero element of the fantastic and of the mystical with the imaginary friend, and she's the thief, and there's a lot going on here that, once again, could be really, really good or could be really, really bad. From writer J. Michael Straczynski, whose writing I am not very personally familiar with, but by reputation, I've heard nothing but fantastic things. So I have faith that even though it seems like there's a lot going on and that could be bad, that in the hands of J. Michael Straczynski, that it's going to be good. So I'm excited to check it out, and because of that excitement, I have made The Madness, issue number 1, my just one book pick for this week. Okay, that's it. Let me know down in the comments if you have anything to comment on. Hit the like button if you're inclined to do so. I would encourage you to do so. I'm going to beg you a little bit for likes. Likes are really good. They help me out a lot. So if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, I would really, really appreciate it. And if you haven't already subscribed, I would invite you to go ahead and do that. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.